like the name, American elm. I think that says it all. It's a strong tree. The thing about this very special tree is that it has seen so much in downtown Oklahoma City just since the time it was a little bitty seedling in somebody's front yard.
No one knows how it ended up there, putting down roots in a parking lot miles from any forest. It's probably around 100 years old, but that's just a guess. As it grew, it was bent by the Oklahoma wind and should have been broken by the massive truck bomb that exploded here on April 19, 1995. The tree, anchored at ground zero, was only yards away. Branches witnessed the explosion that consumed the Murrah Federal Building. Leaves felt the destruction that some thought could bring Oklahoma City to her knees.
Cars were pushed up underneath it and caught fire. We found glass in the tree. The fact that it was able to withstand that is truly amazing.
It lived through the investigation that followed. Law enforcement had talked about cutting it down to collect evidence embedded in its bark. Now, there is a grandness that has spread throughout. Its branches have embraced every cycle of life, proof that when all seems lost, there can be rebirth, a reminder to never give up on living.
All things in nature have a certain amount of spirit to them. The power that this tree has just is not anything that I've ever seen with any single tree or any forest or anything that I've ever been in or around.
Mark Bays knows this tree probably better than anyone on the planet. He is an urban forester in Oklahoma City and has made caring for the elm a priority.
Shortly before the first anniversary, somebody noticed that the tree, this tree that was really just in the parking lot, was coming out. It was at that time that there really became a rallying around that tree.
And that's how the elm earned its name, the survivor tree. So important is this symbol of endurance, it's mentioned by name in the Memorial Foundation mission statement. The creators of the memorial required the tree be included as a component on the finished site. In many ways, it is the metaphor for Oklahoma City's recovery after the attack.
The bark has kind of replenished itself.
Like its bark, the city's soul was scorched and blackened, but that did not darken the resilience of her citizens. They rebounded after the bombing, and their survivor tree became a wellspring for much of that hopeful energy. Even today, this power is tangible.
It's an important part of the memorial to go up and touch it.
As visitors experience the Oklahoma City National Memorial and Museum.
It's a beautiful old tree.
Just going up to the tree today, you just have this sense that it's so much more than just a tree. It's a message of hope. It's a message of healing. It's growth. It's growing beyond tragedy. And it's a very personal thing.
The survivor tree is now one of the best cared for trees in America. When a winter storm threatened possible destruction, memorial staffers used poles to clear branches, lessening the weight of the ice. Pruning is closely supervised to maintain the shape of the tree. And then there is the Survivor Tree Sapling Program, pioneered in part by Mark Bays.
Smile and say trees.
The idea to enable this symbol to grow not only in people's hearts and minds, but also in their yards.
I wanted to make sure that, the tree's spirit would live on. And so one way to do that is to collect the seeds off the tree.
Seeds mean saplings. Every spring since 1996, memorial staff collect them from the flagstone promenade surrounding the tree.
This seed this year is really good and viable. We'll get a real good stand out of a flat like this.
They end up with Steve Biebrick, who grows them at his nursery in western Oklahoma.
It's not rocket science. It's a very easy species to grow. This one has such a history and a connection to Oklahoma City. I think it's worth us continuing to grow it and perpetuate it.
Look at that one. What's that, almost 4 foot tall?
Over the next 12 months, workers at Sunshine Nursery will mother the baby elms until just before the remembrance ceremony every April. They're brought to the Oklahoma City National Memorial, where they're handed out until they're gone on the 19th. In the early years, it was strictly limited to families, survivors, and rescue workers. Now they're available to anyone who wants a piece of this legacy.
This whole branch is this year's growth.
That heritage is so key to the Oklahoma City bombing story that steps have been taken to ensure the survivor tree's integrity long after it returns to Mother Nature. The aging elm has been cloned.
There are a couple of those growing, top secret locations, but we have those growing right now, so the exact genetics of the survivor tree will continue to live on.
For Steve Biebrick, the memory of that morning in the spring of '95 will always be near.
My mother died the day of the bombing. So that bombing, even though I didn't lose anybody in it, I still lost someone right at the same time. So it really struck me right in the heart. And so this is just a little thing I can do, and it always kind of reminds me of my mom, and I'm sure these trees help other people to think about their loved ones and the people that have went through that.
It's really gotten big.
Doris Jones and her husband Bobby are two of the many who lived through the bombing and now must live with it. Their daughter, Carrie Lenz, who is expecting her first child, is one of the 168 killed in the terrorist attack. In the Jones backyard grows one of the very first survivor tree saplings.
It just makes me think of Carrie. That's good. And I remember we thought, gosh, the tree made it. So, it survived. I could survive. It was very important to have a part of that.
The Jones enjoy many trees on their land, but only one has roots that run deep to their hearts. There were many witnesses to the terror on 5th Street that day. Among them, that unassuming tree growing in an asphalt parking lot. Most people never gave it a second glance. Today, the eyes of a nation and a community gaze on it with affection. It wraps all in the comfort of its strength.
It's an American tree. It's a hardwood tree. That's not a softwood pine. That's a hardwood. Americans are tough, like that tree.
Even though the tragedy that happened, I think God still had a purpose for certain things, to let us see that, hey, even through all the horrible things that happened, there still is a calm after the storm.
And the fact that it was a tree, and it wasn't just like, oh, this one wall survived. It's like this tree survived,
a living thing. Yeah.
A tree of life that daily shares with all its astounding story of healing, resilience, and survival.
I have a real affinity for the survivor tree. I worked in this building and would walk under that tree almost every day for about 5 years. The tree was just an abomination of a tree. It was one big trunk, small other trunk coming out like this, and a few twigs for branches. I'd walk under that tree and I'd think, you are so ugly. Why is this tree still standing? I pass under that tree now. I say, I'm so sorry. You have taught me such a wonderful lesson. It is not what is on the outside, it is what is on the inside of each one of us.
The fact that this tree was able to withstand everything, I think it knew it had something bigger than it was destined to be. In my heart, that's how I really feel the spirit of this tree lived and continues to live.